What's up, everybody? Big Kirk 916, and you tuned in to another edition of my vlog. I want to say thank you for subscribing. Thanks for your support. You know I'm all about that positivity and that motivation, and I want to talk about honor and integrity. And this is something that's lacking in today's society. You know, people idolize the wrong things and they don't stand by any morals or any truth. They just, whatever's convenient for them at the moment, they accept or they follow. And you know, I'm making this video because somebody made a comment and they said, "Oh, Big Kirk, what's wrong with snitching?" And I said, well, if you have a society that has no honor, no integrity, and everybody's telling on everybody, then how are you ever going to build a solid foundation? Because without any integrity, nobody's going to stand for anything. So everybody will fall for everything. So you have to have some type of honor and integrity. And I'm not saying that when you have somebody who's immoral, or when you have somebody who's doing something that goes against social norms, they shouldn't be punished. You know, anybody that's hurting kids, hurting babies, hurting old people, you know, doing things that are wrong, or things that are just plain dishonest, you know, they have to own up to that. Yeah, they should be handled accordingly. But when you have people who get involved in certain lifestyles that they know what they're getting involved in, and then they talk all this game about how tough they are, or who they're gonna bust and all this stuff, and then when shit hit the fan, they just telling everybody to get less time. Man, there should be a law against that. You participated, you knew what the hell you were getting into, so you should have to pay the consequence, plain and simple. Just when you got involved and you seen that it wasn't what you thought it was, you should have walked away immediately. But then when you kind of knew that and you still stayed, then you got to pay the price. I've never seen so many young people look up to people who have like no core, you know. And by that I mean they have defined themselves by no purpose. What they did was they so-called lived a certain way, but then at the end of the day, they weren't successful in that life, so now they're just gonna flip it over on everybody. And they think that they're you know, someone that should be considered a martyr because they've, you know, been through it. Well, I think that these people should not be idolized. They should not be worshipped. And when you're furthering negative activities with other people, and then you decide to tell on those people who you incited to do what they did, then you should not have a get out of jail free card, because you were part of the problem. And all this goes back to the same stuff, man. You know, infamous Snitch 9. You know, everybody, you know, in arms about him and getting out and all this, man. I ran across a lot of people in the feds, and a lot of the dudes I ran across, good dudes, solid dudes, dudes who did, some of them, man, it's sad, man, 20-something years before they were able to get action or get a pardon or get a law change. But somebody told on him. And that person that's told still did the time, but that person that told had no reason to tell. Because the person they told on wasn't the one that got caught, it was them that got caught. And that's what I'm talking about, man. It's a sad situation. You got caught, and because you were living a certain lifestyle, you think that you should be compensated, so you don't want to leave the situation, so you go tell on somebody else. Pure garbage. Pure garbage, man. So, yeah, have some honor and integrity about yourself. Stand up for something. Have some value. That's one thing they teach people in the military. They teach people in law enforcement. They have an oath. They have integrity. You know, people aren't running around telling on each other, man. And that's why you talk about, you know, who the gangsters are. Well, if you want to be a real gangster, go into the military. You know, go put in some real work. That way, at least you're doing it behind some type of cause rather than out here just doing stupid shit to try to get a name for yourself and end up in a penitentiary. Stand for something, man. Ask yourself if what you're doing, if it's worth it at the end of the day if you got pinched. If you got caught and you had to actually deal with the consequences, are you ready to deal with those? If you're not, then you need to stop what you're doing, man. Walk away and save yourself a lot of heartache along with all the other people around you. But civilians, hey, you know, it's a different world. And, you know, I mean, if you're a gangster, then, you know, there's a certain street code you got to live by. But regardless, if a person is, you know, doing anything that violates a person against their will, I feel they need to wig split, period. Plain and simple. But when you're doing things you know you ain't got no business, man, think about your future. You know, think about your future. You've seen a lot of these rappers out here doing all kind of crazy stuff, and then they get caught and they're sitting there, and then, you know, everybody thinks it's glamorous because you're getting views off of the social media, man. But that's all a farce, man. There ain't nothing glorious about social media likes in retrospect to having some type of honor and integrity. You get out, you're still a rat. You're still a snitch. Whatever you are, you know, informant, CI, all that. And the thing is, man, the people that you think you helped, they don't respect you. They don't respect you, man. I've heard, you know, COs talk and, you know, Popo talk behind. They don't respect these guys, man, who tell, because they play themselves, man. And they seen them coming before it happened, so they don't respect them. It's a means to an end, and of course, they're better at getting people to turn over than anything. I mean, that's their job. They know how to get people to tell on each other, but they don't respect them. They laugh at them because these dumbasses bought into something and did something, and now want to try to snitch their way out of it. Think, man. Think. Before you get to doing dumb shit, think. If you know this guy's on some bullshit, man, walk away. Use your head. You're not gangster until you get into that interrogation room and they turn that AC up and you sit there and you start trying to figure out now how you're gonna get back to your family. You ain't gangster till you've been up in that situation, and you got those cuffs on your wrist and they're cut into your bone, and you, every time you move they tighten up, and you're wondering, you know, when you can get into a comfortable position, and you gotta feel like you gotta go poop. Until you dealt with that, you ain't seen no gangster shit. They got some real gangsters up in there. You go up in that courtroom and they start talking about football numbers, that's gangster. When they put you on that bus and ship you around the country, that's gangster. When they tell you stand up for count, that's gangster. When they tell you to stand over and cough, that's gangster. Now, it's best to be a square and have some honor and integrity and not put yourself in a fucked up position, man. So, Big Herc 916, get your game tight, stay laced up.